Hey everyone, welcome to this week's Actifio On-Tech. I'm Jason.
And I'm Jay.
So we're doing this a day late today. It's Friday, not Thursday. We had a little beer cart action today, yesterday, which we were in charge of. So we're rocking that with some good sangria,
fun times.
Some Trillium beers, and some Treehouse beers.
You got it.
Very well received. So we're doing this today. And what are we drinking today? We're drinking Hudson Valley Total Internal Reflection, which is an oat sour IPA, brewed by Hudson Valley Brewery, which is located in Beacon, New York. These guys have become pretty popular very recently because of their sour IPAs. And when we were at Data Driven in Miami, Gio and I actually tried our first two, and they were really good. There was a raspberry sour, and then there was an oat wheat sour, and both were awesome. So
is a sour different from a sour IPA different from a sour? Or are they the same thing?
They're different.
Okay,
so a sour typically is like a goza or some kind of wild ale, and it's just brewed differently. So this is like they're taking an IPA and making it into a sour, basically.
Interesting.
So we're gonna crack this open and try it out. Got the Actifio swag today too here in our orange Treehouse branded Actifio. Not branded, but you know.
You always do that rolling thing. I always feel like it's going to explode when you do that, but I know.
No, man, because you got that skill. So you tap the bubbles off the side, you hit the top a little bit, say a Hail Mary, whatever you got to do, you know? So what are we talking about today, Jay? You actually came up with most of the topics today.
Yes,
I was slacking a little bit, not going to lie. So.
I was feeling very enthusiastic this week. So I was looking through my usual sources, and I've come up with a bunch of different topics, but let's start with one of them while you're pouring that delicious sour.
Yeah, do your thing.
First topic was something I'd never heard of before called KaiOS. Have you heard of KaiOS?
It sounds like a Karate Kid thing to me.
To
be honest.
Sensei, it is not that.
Okay, what is it?
Basically, it's a low-end OS for smartphones. Think of actually a respin of Firefox OS from long ago. So basically, Firefox OS kind of failed, and they took the code and they respun it. And the idea is low CPU, low memory for like the cheapest of cheap phones.
So Firefox OS, tell me more about that. Was that for computers or was that for cell phones?
So Firefox, the browser people, decided that they were going to develop their own phone OS.
So it was a phone OS?
Yeah.
Okay.
So they did that and it flopped.
Well, Microsoft tried that too and it flopped.
That's true.
If Microsoft can't do it, you have a hard time thinking that Mozilla could do it as well.
Totally. So basically, these KaiOS people took that and sort of resquizzled it into these feature phone low-end feature set for basically emerging markets. And so the interesting thing about that is I was looking at this, and this is the article itself, and their market share is crazy. They are like #2 market share in India behind Android, which is pretty significant.
Yeah.
I mean, India's huge, and it's amazing that they're #2 market share. And so the big deal about KaiOS, why that's curious,
why is it in the news,
is that Google invested $22 million in a Series A round. So Google is going in on KaiOS.
But Google owns Android.
It does. But the theory behind this one is that Android, and sort of through Android One, Google's trying to get more feature phony, like low end.
Okay.
But they're not getting there as fast as they'd like. So through KaiOS, you do that, and in fact, KaiOS has agreed they'll support things like Google Maps and other Google features.
So there's a little bit of cross-pollination.
Right, it's trying to basically dominate the world with sort of the Google ecosystem, and trying to get into those really, really cheapy handsets where they probably struggle today.
Yeah, I think my parents, my in-laws actually, they're not very tech savvy. They actually probably have one of these cheap phones that has some flavor of this or something else running on it because I've checked them out. Like you can text on it.
Yeah.
But there's not much internet.
Yeah, totally.
Not much navigation on it either. So it's pretty funny. So interesting. Okay, so Google trying to go all in on mobile phones, both high end and low end.
Right. Exactly. Now listen to this. The KaiOS shipments in the first quarter of 2018 grew 11,400% year over year. 23 million units. That's pretty darn big, I would say.
It's not bad.
I know.
I'd take that growth here.
So that's a pretty interesting story there, I thought.
Nice. Now, pause. Let's check out the beer.
Totally.
So look at this. This looks like grapefruit juice to me.
It's like very cloudy.
It looks like grapefruit juice. So very hazy. Definitely looks sour.
You can smell the acidic nature of it.
Yeah, it's a smell sour. It smells a little sour to me.
Yeah, me too.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Let's check this thing out. of sour.
Kind of juicy, as you'd say, though, right?
But it's like
The start is juicy, but the finish is really sour.
it's sour. Like to me, it just was like one of those, those atomic warheads that were the sour ones.
Yeah.
You used to have like middle school.
Yeah.
That's what it was like.
Yeah,
It was
totally.
just hitting my taste buds. Oh, wow. That is sour. That is like grapefruit juice.
Totally.
Almost, like, woo.
All right.
All right, what's next?
The next one is, have you been to the West Coast recently? I don't know if you've had in your travels.
No, I have not been recently, no.
So I was there, as you know, because I was missing the event for Pure Accelerate
That's right.
a couple months ago, or about a month ago. And I saw all these people driving around on these scooters. And I was thinking to myself, where are they? There's this new age, sort of like that city bike thing that they have in Boston or elsewhere.
Yeah.
Well,
New York
turns out,
City.
right. Turns out that one of the companies that does this, and there are many, but one of them is called Bird. And Bird has a very interesting model where they have these bikes. They're all powered. They have GPS. They have all this stuff.
They have like a motor?
Yeah, they're like
Okay.
electric.
And these scooters, you saw had motors as well, so they're motorized scooters.
Like the things that like your kids use that have the two wheels that
Yeah.
they sort of,
But there's a little motor on the back.
it's sort of underneath.
Okay, all right.
So what you do there is pretty cool. Is you get one of these things. You go to the app. It'll just show you where one is randomly.
Yep.
You go find it. You just drive where you want, and then you just leave it there and go off and do
So
something
there's
else.
no like hubs.
No, right.
And you don't have to lock it up
No.
or anything like that. Just people drop them on the side of the road.
Right.
And the app tells you where it is.
Yeah. Yeah, but you can make money though. Interestingly, you can make like $20 if you're a guy who sort of doesn't own, but sort of is like the gatherer of these things, and you can actually go and they
Really?
hire people that do this to like go and pick this thing up and bring it to your house and charge it overnight, and then put it out front, and then next day, maybe our producer or someone shows up and takes
Just
off
takes
with it.
it.
Yeah. So
That's interesting.
it's really interesting. But what's really curious is they raised a boatload of money. Now they, all companies or many companies are raising money these days.
Right.
But what's really telling to me, if you look at the valuation, in March they were worth $300 million. It's a lot of money for a scooter company. But listen to this.
Not bad.
Then in May, they're worth $1 billion.
That's some growth.
In June, just now, they raised $300 million for a $2 billion valuation.
Wow.
So they went from $300 million in March to $2 billion in May.
In a matter of months.
Yeah, can you
Wow.
believe that? So everything's a big thing. There's some competitors out there. There's a company called Lime, another one called Skip. But it's really interesting that this seems to be a really hot, sort of buzzworthy area right now.
Is this just on the West Coast or is it on the East Coast as well?
So they're all over. They're all over, meaning they're broadening. They're pretty narrow. I think Indianapolis is what I was writing about, but they have a bunch of West Coast
I think
places.
I heard about this in Washington, D.C. as
Yeah.
well. I don't know if it's Bird specifically, but I know that I had a friend from college who actually took one and dismantled one because he wanted to see if he could like take it for his own.
Right, right.
It didn't work.
Well, they
So they're
have
pretty secure.
they have GPS and they have a cellular radio, so they actually know where they are. They actually sort of communicate back to sender.
Okay.
So your buddy may have gotten in trouble because they may have reported back that
I think he just ditched it like across the street or something. And,
in pieces.
yeah, exactly, right? On the side of the road. Now, I don't know. This is all allegedly, of course. I don't know if it really happened, but I heard through a friend of mine.
Yeah, there you go. Of course, of course. So, well, one of the issues with it is that's interesting is that you drive around to some popular spot and you just leave it. In fact, in some cities like in Indianapolis, they were really frustrated because it was in unsafe places. It was in, it was all in popular spots, and so it was an eyesore. So a bit of a challenge with that because there's no central spot, so they all end up kind of in similar places.
Well, it reminds you of like Amsterdam. So if you haven't been to Amsterdam, there's just bikes everywhere.
Yeah.
Abandoned bikes.
Right.
Not abandoned bikes.
Right.
There's just bikes everywhere.
Right.
And that's what that reminds me of, So it's interesting.
That is
I would probably
interesting.
use it in a pinch, like if you needed it. If you're in Boston or something and you needed to be somewhere and there was traffic,
Right.
so a Lyft or an Uber wasn't really,
Right.
a viable option.
Foot of snow. There you go. It
Foot
worked
of snow.
really well. Yeah.
You want to do some cool jumps? And
Yeah.
tricks, get one of these guys, right?
Yeah, so that was interesting. I was admiring them, thinking they were pretty cool too. I couldn't quite figure out how it all worked when I was there because my first time really seeing
Do you
it.
need to like wear a helmet or anything? Or?
They'll send you a free helmet supposedly, but I guess you don't need to, according to.
So you got guys
Yeah.
in business suits riding these
Totally, you
things
do.
around and
Yeah.
stuff?
It's interesting.
Segway.
Or like
I
a
know.
new Vespa, right? Yeah, Segway or a Vespa.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah, nice.
Now, do you want to talk about?
Yeah, I'll bring up. I had one
you had
topic
one that
that
you
I
liked?
found that was interesting. So apparently, after 7 long years, the Apple-Samsung patent war is over.
Okay.
So if you remember way back in the day, Apple filed a patent infringement claim against Samsung for, I guess, for the iPhone. So when Samsung came out with their phones way back in the day, I think before the Notes and all the other things, Apple said that they had infringed on a variety of different trademarked, patented technology like the swipe right, a few of the icons, things like that. And so this war had been going on for 7 years where,
It's crazy.
You know, Apple won $1 billion, and then it went to the Supreme Court, and it got put down to $350 million, and then it's been bounced around back and forth. But every time that there's been any kind of appeal, Samsung always loses, and Apple always wins. So it's a matter of time before someone was going to have to pay up or settle it. So apparently, it's been settled for an unknown sum. They haven't told us what it is.
It's probably good.
It's probably a couple $100 million, maybe $500 million. I don't know what it is. Who knows? But it's over, and they're speculating as to why it's all over all of a sudden. This was like a very, hardcore war that they were fighting. Back and forth, court to court, appeal after appeal. So why, after 7 years, all of a sudden they're like, meh. And some speculation was that, well, the leadership has changed so much over the years that they just don't care anymore. Right? They're just like, whatever, let's just do it. So that's apparently what I read about and what they said. So
it's tough because there's some. I fully appreciate the importance of intellectual property. There's no doubt that's really critical. But you wonder, at what point does it become sort of table stakes, status quo? Like, can you really patent, like, swipe to the left, or fingerprint recognition, or a touch-based interface? Like, where, how far can you go with that? I don't even know.
It's funny how companies try to get around with certain nuances, right? And sometimes it's upheld, and sometimes it's not upheld. This lawsuit goes back from way back in the day, when the iPhone first came out. So back then, these things that you talked about that are table stakes today weren't that. Oh, those were revolutionary, huge IP, competitive advantage stuff, and so for them to blatantly copy it, makes sense why Samsung was always found guilty.
There's no doubt. I mean, when the first iPhone came out, it was a game changer. It was just a complete dramatic change in the mobile industry as we knew it. And it's, to this day, I don't know how many transformative changes of that level we've seen, but certainly that was one of them. It was unbelievable, really.
I definitely agree. Definitely one of the most revolutionary technology feats. I mean, there's been many in the world, but in our modern world, definitely, for sure. So what else you got?
So the last thing I had was this interesting one with a company called Catalog. Catalog is a company here in Massachusetts. It's based off of some Harvard folks, and what they raised is $9 million in a first round of funding for something called DNA-based storage. So it's a storage platform that, instead of storing things on ones and zeros, it stores things in, like, encoded DNA molecules. Really strange.
What? Really?
So, funny thing about this is, and the reason why it got my attention is I had a call about 6 months ago from someone who I knew, and I didn't know, but who got my name from, I went to business school, who happened to go to Sloan where I went, and happened to sort of look up who are people in storage, and they called me like, I want to talk to you about some stuff. And I think it was about this company. And they were telling me about this. The idea here is that it's very, very, very dense storage, but pretty slow storage. So very dense with a very, very slow access profile.
Are they storing this data on, like, a storage device, like a enterprise data storage device, or is it some kind of new revolutionary device?
I think it's different medium, right? It's not like spinning platters or anything like that we're used to with magnetics. I don't quite know how you access the DNA itself. Like, you imagine DNA and you think of, like, liquid or something, and some kind of cells and things.
This
I can't
seems
believe
to me
that.
like very Westworld-y. So do you watch Westworld?
I don't.
So if you're watching Westworld this season, they've introduced something called, what was it called? The Vault or something like that. And inside this vault, if you know the show, right, it's a bunch of machines, they call them hosts, that are very human-like. They bleed, they can die, they can talk and communicate, but they're actually like machines, right? And inside their brain is this little ball, and it's actually the thing that holds all of their, personality, their body, whatever. Well, essentially, what happens is they have copies of these things. So there's one inside their head, and they have a backup copy. And these backups are stored in what they call this vault. But there are these little balls inside this revolutionary machine that's all water cooled. So this is what this reminds me of. I know it's not the same kind of
Right,
thing
right,
we're
right.
talking about, but it seems very like that, where it's like this future technology that's just done in a totally revolutionary different way. So that's what kind of reminded me of what you were talking about.
Well, I think the other angle you could go on that one is like the Matrix. Remember that? And
of course.
And of course they used people for their power. Not that's a little extreme. But, this vision of somehow using cells or something to store this information is very curious. It's hard for me to sort of fathom.
I can't wrap my head around this, to be honest with you. I don't understand.
But they claim
DNA-based data storage.
But their goal is to make this, a viable commercial product. We'll see when that happens, and we'll see when the first one comes out.
Is it just that the data itself is like a DNA strand? So instead of, like you said, ones and zeros, it's more complex.
Exactly.
And we'll call it three-dimensional, if you will.
Exactly. That's exactly right.
But you still store it on like a. But you don't store it on a disk. You're storing it on some other kind of medium.
Well, exactly, and I'm not entirely sure what that is.
Well,
that
DNA currently actually just storage as is, right? It just stores
pairs of the
chromosomes.
Yeah, it just stores information.
Right. So that's the theory, but I still don't know how you deliver it. Like, what would the?
It's like, do I get like injected into my body? It's like
You're just uploading new information.
I'll be like the Terminator or something. It'll be awesome.
All of a sudden, you're Schwarzenegger.
Here it is. So it says storing data in DNA involves converting the digital data into DNA code and then synthesizing strings of DNA molecules with that code. So you're literally like creating molecules.
You're creating DNA for data storage.
That's kind of crazy to imagine.
It's like if you want jacked up biceps, you're just gonna update.
Well,
update
right.
the
Well,
information.
so think about that. So it's for data storage. So it's like whatever data's in there. But eventually, you can see the application of this in other ways, like you said, for any kind of enhanced
Super
body
soldier.
powers
There you go, yeah.
or curing diseases, maybe, because you'll be able to encode the cure to the disease inside this enzyme and then inject it into your body, like.
Well, I don't think it's about injecting into your body, but still.
Well,
maybe
hey, I'm going there.
You're
so,
going.
like, I'm going Westworld. I'm going beyond. You told me something. I'm going with it. So maybe I'll patent that idea.
You want that sphere in your head?
I'll patent that idea. So when Compass, is it Compass? You said the company?
Catalog
Technologies tries to do it. I'll be in a 7-year patent war with it.
There you go. Exactly. So I think that's those are what I had to talk about. I mean, there was one other one that just was randomly in my mind. We can talk about it.
Yeah. What is it?
So there's a company that I saw an ad for recently called Pillpak. And what they do I thought was really clever. For older people who take lots of different pills, you have all these different containers, and remembering which ones to do and when is very difficult.
Right.
So what they do...
I just watch Gio every day. He does his vitamins.
Oh, that's true. I know. He needs that.
He's got like 50 different pills in there, each of his things. Like, how do you even keep the track of that,
Totally. So basically, Pillpak, you give this prescriptions to them, and they'll send you packages that this is like the Monday pills. And in there is all the pills you need on Monday. And there's the Tuesday pills and the Wednesday pills. Seemed like a great idea.
It's a great idea.
Well, Amazon just bought them for like $100 million at $1 billion valuation just this week.
Oh,
I think that's pretty cool.
So then they can start delivering them. Maybe for vitamins to start, maybe not medicine per se.
I don't know.
But if you think about it, Amazon, very heavily supply chain based company.
Right.
They got the network, they got the delivery for this.
Right.
So they could easily implement this into their whole stream of processing.
I mean, yeah, because my mother was very ill, and she was taking so many pills, and I don't know how she kept track of them, and truthfully, I'm not sure she always did, and that may be part of her problem.
Well, my father as well. So way back in the day, my father passed away when I was a teenager. Same thing. He would have pills, vitamins,
all that,
all separated with that Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday thing, and it was just kind of mind-boggling.
Yeah.
Mind-boggling there. And as his health deteriorated, definitely I agree with you. It's harder to keep track of all those things for sure.
Definitely.
So I see that this is a great, very helpful thing to do. It help out both young and old people for that matter. So I think it's a great.
So here's hoping that they take that technology, which has been successful, and really expand upon it, and maybe add vitamins, and maybe roll it out more aggressively to more people, so people can benefit from it. Because I think it really is beneficial.
I do too. I agree with you. Sweet. Well, everyone, that's it for this week's Actifio On-Tech. We have the July 4th holiday next week, so we probably will be off.
Yes.
So expect to see us. Because are you here 2 weeks from today?
2 weeks from today is what day? I think I am.
You are. So it would be like the...
No, I may not be.
I think you're out.
I think I'm out.
Oh, so we'll have a special guest then.
A special guest. I'll be out for So.
And then I'm out later in the month as well, so you'll have a special guest.
I gotta find a really good guest.
You don't have to find a really good guest. It's not a competition, Jim.
Of course it is. Always.
All right, cool. So we will see you in 2 weeks then. Enjoy your July 4th holiday. Hope you get to spend it with family and friends. Enjoy some good barbecue. And the weather as well is going to be 90s here in Massachusetts all week. So stay cool, stay hydrated, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Yeah, before the July.